When we look at patients in the upfront treatment and the utilization of Bev, it's very important to look at the two largest trials, which are GOG-218 and ICON7. Both of those trials were positive for progression-free survival. When we look at the treatment options of these patients, there was a subgroup analysis in ICON7 which identified a higher risk patient population, those undergoing neoadjuvant or those with stage 4 disease, which this patient had because her thoracentesis was positive for adenocarcinoma. When looking at those patients, they seem to benefit the most. Now again, this is a subgroup analysis in ICON7. When we looked at that data in a post hoc analysis in GOG-218, those results were not as straightforward. But again, looking at patients that I'm going to utilize Bev, a patient with a large volume of ascites, which Bev has clearly shown to help dry up ascites, would really come into my thought process. The FDA is currently reviewing the use of Bev in the upfront setting. We expect that it will be approved. If it is approved in the upfront setting, we will see more patients receiving it, and having the option of treatment in patients who are previously untreated will be of benefit. Of what patients who are going to maximally benefit and where am I going to utilize those? Some practitioners will use it with all patients. In my practice, where we look to use Bev in the upfront setting, are patients who have stage 4 disease, potentially who required neoadjuvant chemotherapy, who have large volume disease at the end of their primary debulking, or who are extremely symptomatic secondary to their ascites or pleural effusions. With regards to the dosing, the ICON7 used 7.5 milligrams every 3 weeks, 7.5 milligrams per kilogram every 3 weeks, while most trials have utilized 15 milligrams per kilogram. The current approval in the US is for 50 milligrams per kilogram in the platinum sensitive, and we suspect in the upfront will be the same. In the United States, I would recommend using 15 milligrams per kilogram, as that's where most of the data lies. Is there other treatment options? Well, of course, Bev has a very long half-life, and there are different ways to modify that, but I would stay away from that and use the doses which have been studied. This patient had a complete response to upfront therapy, and that was continued on Bev maintenance. Many of our patients will have a complete response, as high as 80%. Now, how do you break that up between the differences and those with high volume disease and neoadjuvant? There's probably some wiggle room there. But when a patient walks into our office with advanced ovarian cancer, our goal from the moment I meet them is to have a complete response, to get them with no clinical evidence of disease and into remission. We know that a very high percentage of these advanced stage 4 and bulky upper abdominal stage 3C patients will recur, probably at least 80%. And with those patients, we have to have our thought process and what are we going to utilize in the future. But really, I put all my effort into that first treatment option and going over those agents available to them, which again, carboplatin, paclitaxel, with or without bevacizumab.